Why would God send a man who once lied and ran away back to the very place that haunts him most, and then, in just one mysterious night, tear up his name and his future and write a new one? Evening wind moves through Haran, carrying the smell of dry grass and sheep dung, blended with the soft jingle of bells. Between rows of dusty tents, Jacob stands still, watching the flocks of sheep and goats, the camels, the cattle pressing against each other. 20 years ago, he left home with nothing but a staff in his hand. Now he has wives, children, servants, a huge camp, and more wealth than he can count. And yet, every time someone mentions Canaan, Beersheba, Esau, something in his chest flares like a finger pressing on an old wound. Laban is not an easy man. From the day Jacob arrived at his camp, his uncle has squeezed every bit of strength and skill out of him. Jacob works himself to the bone, out in the open, under harsh weather, watching over the herds. In return, Laban changes his wages again and again, using tricks to keep Jacob under his thumb. But God makes the flocks bear exactly the markings Jacob asked for. His herds grow, his wealth rises day after day. The richer Jacob becomes, the more Laban's eyes, and the eyes of Laban's sons, shift from warmth to jealousy and suspicion. The whispers start to swirl.
All this wealth, he stole it from our father. Our father got rich because of him, and now he's taking everything for himself.
Jacob hears it all. He feels the chill in their stares, the hardness in their voices. The place that once sheltered him now makes him feel like a stranger. Right in the middle of that tension, God speaks. Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. It's more than homesickness, it's a command. But going back means going to where Esau lives, back to the wound that may never have healed. To follow this voice, Jacob will have to face his past. Jacob calls Rachel and Leah out into the field where the flocks are grazing. He tells them about the jealousy of their brothers, about Laban's change of heart, and about what God has commanded. Rachel and Leah answer without hesitation. Their father no longer treats them like daughters. The wealth that should have been theirs is gone. So they say, "Do whatever God has told you." Their words of support strip away Jacob's last bit of hesitation. When Laban goes off to shear his sheep, Jacob moves quietly. The sound of ropes tightening, camels grunting, children whispering. They take down the tents, tie up the loads, stack them on camelbacks, and drive the herds forward. Night falls. For the last time, the stars over Haran shimmer in the worried eyes of Jacob's family. Rachel sneaks into her father's house, steals his household gods, and hides them in a camel's saddle. Then Jacob's camp slips into the dark, leaving Haran without a single farewell. 3 days later, Laban hears the news. Fury burns. He gathers his relatives and gives chase. Hooves pound the earth. Shouts echo through the hills. For 7 days and nights, they follow the trail of dust left by Jacob's camp, getting closer and closer. On the 7th night, in the mountains of Gilead, Laban falls asleep. God appears to him in a dream and says, "Be careful. Don't say anything to Jacob, good or bad." That warning stops his anger in its tracks. At dawn, Laban's men catch up with Jacob. The tents are still half set up, the animals scattered and unsettled. Laban strides forward and confronts him. Why did Jacob deceive him and run away, carrying his daughters off like captives, not even allowing them to say goodbye? Jacob admits his fear. If he had spoken beforehand, he was sure Laban would never let them leave. As for the household gods, Jacob is so confident in his innocence that he declares, "Whoever has your gods shall not live." In front of everyone, Laban searches tent after tent, Jacob's, Leah's, the servants. Finally, he enters Rachel's. She is sitting on the camel saddle, the very place where the idols are hidden. She says she can't stand up because the way of women is upon her. Out of respect for his daughter, Laban does not force her to move. He finds nothing. That's when years of pent-up frustration explode out of Jacob. He pours out his story.
Nights without sleep, guarding the herds. Animals torn by wild beasts that he himself has had to replace. Wages changed again and again. 20 long years of service without rest. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, he says, you would surely have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my hardship and the labor of my hands, and last night he rebuked you.
Laban has no answer. He can't deny any of it. In the end, they strike a covenant. They pile up stones as a witness between them and share a meal. The next morning, Laban kisses his daughters and grandchildren goodbye and returns to Haran. Jacob watches him go, knowing this is only half the journey. Ahead of him stands Esau, the brother who once swore he would kill him. Jacob sends messengers ahead, calling himself your servant Jacob, and telling Esau that he has lived with Laban for many years and is now returning, hoping to find favor in his brother's eyes. When the messengers come back, the news hits Jacob like ice in his veins. Esau is coming to meet him, and 400 men are with him. It sounds less like a welcome party and more like a small army. Fear crashes down on him. Jacob splits his whole camp into two groups, thinking, if Esau attacks one group, the other can escape. When night comes, he falls to his knees and prays. He reminds God of his promises. He admits that he is unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness God has shown him. He begs to be rescued from Esau's hand. After his prayer, Jacob prepares a gift to send ahead. Waves of animals, goats, sheep, camels, cattle, donkeys, each group led by servants with careful instructions. When Esau asks, they must answer that these are a present from your servant Jacob for my lord Esau. Jacob hopes to soften his brother's heart before they meet face to face. That night, by the Jabbok River, Jacob sends his wives, his children, and everything he owns across the stream. Then he stays behind, alone. No more children crying, no more camels groaning, only the sound of water running over stones and wind slipping through the rocks. Jacob stands suspended between two fears. Behind him, Laban has just barely been settled. Ahead of him, Esau is coming with 400 men. Above him, God's promise. Inside him, the old wound of his own sin. Suddenly, a man steps out of the darkness. There is no greeting. He rushes Jacob, grabs him, and throws him to the ground. Jacob fights back on instinct, sure, this is an enemy. They wrestle wildly, bodies slamming into the dirt, grunts and gasps, feet slipping, rocks rolling in the silent night. The struggle drags on until just before dawn, when the first light begins to blur the horizon, and the stranger sees that Jacob still refuses to let go. He simply reaches out and touches Jacob's hip. Just one touch, and the joint wrenches out of place. Pain explodes. Jacob collapses, but his arms do not. He keeps clinging to the man. The stranger says, "Let me go, for the dawn is breaking." Jacob, breathing hard, answers, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." In that moment, Jacob knows he is not wrestling a normal man. There is a power beyond human strength in every movement, in every touch. All his life, he has wrestled with people using schemes and tricks. Tonight, he is wrestling with God himself, the one who has come to break his self-reliance and give him a new name. The man asks him, "What is your name?" Jacob. That name carries a lifetime of grabbing, deceiving, and taking what belongs to others. Then the man says, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have prevailed." And there in the fading darkness, he blesses him. When Jacob asks for his name in return, the man replies, "Why do you ask my name?" As if to say, what matters is not that you can explain me, but that you have truly encountered me. When the sun finally rises, the stranger is gone. On the bank of the Jabbok stands a lone man, his hip dislocated, his gait forever changed. Jacob names the place Peniel, face of God, because, as he says, I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. From that moment on, every painful step reminds him, he is not the man he used to be. Jacob has died. Israel is the one walking forward. With that limp, Israel moves toward Esau. He arranges his family, the maidservants and their children first, then Leah and her children, and finally Rachel and Joseph at the back. He himself walks out front. Again and again, as he approaches, he bows down to the ground 7 times until he reaches his brother. Esau sees him from afar. Memories surge up, a little brother gripping his heel at birth, stealing the birthright, stealing the blessing. But now he sees a limping man who keeps bowing, with a trembling family behind him. Something breaks and softens inside Esau. He runs to Jacob, throws his arms around him and pulls him close. The brothers cling to each other and both begin to weep. There is no sword being drawn from its sheath, only the sound of sobbing from 2 men who were torn apart by sin. Jacob whispers, "To see your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me favorably." In that embrace, you can almost see God's promise made visible. He has gone before Jacob and touched Esau's heart before Jacob ever arrived. Jacob's homecoming does not end in a battlefield, but in a new name, a new way of walking, and an embrace that heals 20 years of distance. The man who once lived by tricks to get what he wanted has become the man who clings to God at all costs and letting him rewrite his story. In the next episode, we'll step into that new world where jealousy, dreams, and God's own plans crash into each other. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.